Thank you. What an honor to be here tonight amongst such extraordinary storytellers. As you may have seen in the video, in 1917, my great-grandfather, B.C. Forbes, took what was seen as a very radical approach to journalism at the time. When others focused on balance sheets and numbers, he believed that business could only be understood through the lens of people. And as you may have seen on the very first cover, that was the first cover of Forbes, he proudly displayed very prominently a department dedicated to women in business. And to put that in context, in 1917, this was 3 years before women had the right to vote in this country. And if you read his words in that issue, he predicted that women would not just work for men, but side by side with them as equals. Not necessarily because it was progressive, but because it was practical. To truly understand business, you need to see everyone who shapes it. As the fourth generation in my family to be a part of the business, and the first woman in my family to be a part of this business, that legacy resonates with me deeply. My great-grandfather, BC, my grandfather, Malcolm, and my father, they all inspired me, but their experiences reflected a very different world than mine. When I started my career in the early 2000s at Forbes, I saw very quickly that women in business, that the stories of women in business, the stories that I needed to see to reflect my reality and the countless reality of many others weren't being told. And that's what led me to launch Forbes Women nearly 2 decades ago. I started because I was hungry to see the stories of women who saw opportunities that were missed, women who were building innovations and overcoming barriers that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I knew I wasn't alone. And in doing that, what I discovered so quickly was that it wasn't just a shortage of women in leadership, that there just wasn't enough. But oftentimes media relegated women, successful women, and their contributions to special interest stories. Their achievements were seen as exceptions, not essential parts of the fabric of business and drivers of progress. When we can't see ourselves in the narrative, we can't imagine our place in it. And that is why representation matters so much, and that is why tonight matters so much. Today, I am proud to say, in the work of so many, that Forbes now hosts women's conferences, publishes magazine, produces content in over 30 countries around the world. Countries and regions that I can say I never thought Forbes in the first place would be publishing, let alone celebrating women. This March, we hosted our 4th annual 30/50 Summit in Abu Dhabi, celebrating women on International Women's Day, bringing together women from dozens of countries across generations and across industries, creating vital networks, but also sharing blueprints for success. In media, and this is such a privilege, but it also is an extraordinary responsibility that many of us tonight hold. In media, we spotlight stories that otherwise might remain untold. When visibility increases, possibilities expand. That's the power of storytelling, not just to inform, but to transform. And in too many places around the world, as we all know very well, women's voices remain silenced, potential unrealized, contributions overlooked. Also, what we now know so well is that windows of opportunities can close without warning. That's why our work needs to continue, and that's why I look back to the question that guided my great-grandfather that still matters today, and that's who's missing? Whose perspective are we not listening to that can deepen our understanding? And that is why I'm so proud and so privileged to be a part of AAM, to be a part of the power of media and the opportunities to not just tell the stories that matter in the world, but also show others what's possible. Because when you do that, you show people what can be achieved, but you also change the reality. Thank you so much for the honor this evening. I feel so privileged, and thank you all for being here tonight.